This is Angela Grayson from the Loving Life Fitness podcast to help others in their fitness journey. All possible.
It's time to wake up. Here we go.
Hi, Joan. How are you doing today?
I'm great, Angela. How are you?
Very good. I'm so excited about having you on my Loving Life Fitness podcast, where I'm trying to help others on their fitness journey. And Joan and I know each other from not only the gym that we used to go to, Fitness One, here in Flagler Beach, Florida, but also we went to yoga teacher training together back in 2020.
2019.
Was it 2019? See, I've lost track. It's been such a journey. You lose track of time. What I'd like to talk to you about, Joan, is about how you decided to go to teacher yoga training after you retired from your previous job. Tell me a little bit about that story. What transpired in your life to make you want to go down this path and take you where you are today?
So I had done yoga like in high school. My mother took my sisters and I all the time. But then the years got by, I worked and had kids and everything. And I didn't get back into yoga until I had retired, which was like coming up on 15 years ago. And the reason I went into training was because I needed to have a knee replacement done. And I had that happen in February of 2020. So I went for yoga training before that time because I wanted to learn how I could do yoga poses that would work for me. I didn't want to do anything on my knees. I wanted to continue to do yoga even with the knee replacement, thought that was going to prohibit me from doing that. That's what drove me to do it. And I also had thought what I would do with it was I would go and volunteer at a retirement home and just teach yoga to people in a retirement home, just volunteer my time. At that same time, my husband would go and visit people, older people that didn't have any visitors because he's great with that. And then that was my plan. But then COVID happened, the pandemic. And so that just squelched that whole idea. And what happened was the gym closed and one of our instructors started doing yoga on Zoom when the gym was closed. And I think it was closed for 3 months? I'm not sure. When the gym opened again, she went back to teaching. And I just said, okay, I'll just continue to do the yoga that she's done on Zoom. And so that's what I've done. And it's been for over 3 years now.
Yes. And you've been helping so many people while reinventing yourself. Let's talk a little bit about that. Reinventing yourself after you had a career for how many years in human resources?
Yeah, in human resources for almost 34 and a half years. Yes. I worked in New York City, I worked in Connecticut, and I worked in Houston, Texas. Yes.
And that's a big people person job. You're definitely needing to get along with people and be sociable. So you had that experience behind you.
It was interesting that I realized when I was 40, it was a very reflective time in life. And then now I'm 70 and it's also a reflective time. And I thought back on it and I realized just how things have unfolded. So I was a sociology major. I went to Jacksonville University, was a sociology major. And when I graduated, I thought, what am I going to do? And I ended up getting a job working for Exxon Corporation and started in their human resource, employee relations or personnel back then. Had a number of different positions, but it came to me that I really enjoyed being with people and working with people. So that was just kind of like, okay, that's what I've done. I've continued to do that with everything. So that's just who I am. I enjoy meeting people, talking to people. The jobs that I had mostly were helping people. I was in benefits. And so I was helping people understand their benefits and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, I just realized that. And then that's how it worked out.
So yes, you were used to being around people. You enjoyed that part of your job. However, teaching is a completely different thing in another aspect where we have to get up in front of a group of people and lead them And I know for me, it was, a little unnerving to get up there and to be teaching something new that I had never taught before. Did you feel like that? And if so, how did you work through that and work past that and not feel intimidation and just say, oh, I can't do this?
I never say I'm a yoga teacher. I say I lead yoga classes. And I always tell everybody, do what feels right for you. And I lead my classes by what feels good for me. And I'm thinking if it feels good for me, it'll feel good for other people. So I've never really felt intimidated by that. But, I also just do it on Zoom. So, I have taught classes. I've filled in for other people and stuff, but I haven't felt that. Just only because I just take it for how I feel and think everybody else is going to feel good too. That's all we're trying to do. Keep moving and feeling good.
No matter what level we're at.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And so that's why after I did the yoga training and I thought I would go to a retirement place, I thought I needed to learn a little bit more. And so I went to the Lakshmi Boker chair yoga training up in St. Augustine. And that's what they do. Their whole thing is all just in a chair because there's so many people. I mean, even some of the people that come to, our Zoom classes now that can't get down on the floor. And so there's a ton of things you can do from a chair to make yourself feel better. That's what I enjoy doing. And I do that once a week. I do a mat class once a week and I do a yin class. And it's not of this getting up and getting down because, people are older and it's not that comfortable. I don't do that. I know that's traditional. My sister always tells me traditional yoga is sun salutation. I don't do those that often. I don't ever do them in a class.
Which leads us to the conversation of people, not everyone understanding what chair yoga is. So I have clients that may go through some sort of injury or downtime, and I tell them, come to chair yoga. And they can tell by the look on their faces or even something they might say, what's chair yoga going to do for me? I'm used to being on the mat and doing all these poses and getting this great stretch.
And you can get great stretches in chair yoga. And you don't have to get down on the floor and you can be comfortable. It's all about stretching and just using every part of your body for flexibility and to just feel good.
And feel so good when that practice is over.
Yeah.
In so many ways. Do you also integrate meditation into your classes?
I haven't yet done that. I'm a member of Yoga Alliance, so that requires continued training. And so I've done some training on that, but no, I have not done that meditation. I do, and I haven't done that much breathing, although, I always focus on breathing because that's like the answer to everything. Other than obviously it's keeping you alive. But I remember when I was 27 and I quit smoking, what cut me off of cigarettes was taking deep breaths. So I had an appendectomy and I was in the hospital for a week. And the thought of having a cigarette, which would make you cough after you haven't had one for a while, and the pain on my stomach is what kept me away from smoking. But then when I had any incidents that I had an urge, I would just do deep breathing. And that is just amazing how that worked. So I attribute that to being able to help me stay off cigarettes. So I haven't done the meditation yet, but who knows what the future holds.
With the meditation, it doesn't have to be a long period of time. So when we started our teacher training, we were introduced to the app Insight Timer. On Insight Timer, they have meditations that can be as short as a couple of minutes on to an hour. You choose what you like. Some of it's guided, some of it's silent, a lot of it is breathing, some of it stories. There's so many different kinds, and I've listened to so many, and meditations on a daily basis help me to get my mind in the right place for my day.
I've done a lot of the Insight Timer meditations. I like to do that at the end of the day. That's like, I like to put my legs up the wall and listen to Insight Timer at the end of the day. So.
Very good. So you do listen to meditations for your own self-practice.
Yes, I do. I definitely do. Yes.
And what does that do for you?
It's just very calming, makes you think inward, just very relaxing, positive, all positive things.
Do you incorporate any other types of physical fitness into your routine?
I don't think so. It's just yoga. When I do the chair yoga, we do a half hour in the chair, and then we stand up and we do 15 minutes of standing poses, different warrior poses, down dog, a number of different standing poses and balancing. We do tree, and then we go back to the chair with a strap and do some work like that. And in my mat class, it's all on the mats. We're not getting up and down. I remember one time at Fit One, coming into a class, a new person had come in and they were standing up, and she said to the instructor, well, do I need to get down? Because if I get down, I want to get up. Yeah. So I really don't. At the beginning of each class, what I do, just my thing is I have a 365 days a year yoga book. It's different yoga readings. So when we settle into whatever class it is, we just start breathing. Then I read the daily yoga wisdom, whatever it is. At the end of each class, we do a complete body scan for our savasana, and we lay there and relax everything, and then just visually in our minds go through, and I mention every body part and just relax it. And then that's how we end each session, like that, going through, starting from the head and going down to the toes and back up to the chest.
Just listening to you talk about your yoga class from the beginning to the end there for that short time has just brought me a sense of relaxation.
It's nice.
That's what yoga does to us.
Absolutely.
So in your own way, by reading from your book, and by the way, is that called Meditations on the Mat?
No, that's not. It's called, let me get it here. It's called Yoga 365, Daily Wisdom for Life on and off the mat.
Doing your reading before your class from that book, that is a type of meditation, because I still have my book that I read daily, Meditations on the Mat, which was one of our required readings in our training with Rolf Gates and Katrina Kennison are the authors of that book. And same thing, amazing daily insights. And it really, really does help us to think deeper, maybe look at things a different way, accept things a different way. Every reading is so different. It's short and sweet.
It's just all positive, which is what I like. So the older I'm thinking, I don't need to deal with all that negativity. I just don't need to.
While we're on the subject of books, are there any other books that you go back to or recommendations for the listeners today?
Well, I do a number of readings every morning, but the yoga book is one of them, but other ones are just other different readings that I've done. And one of them is interesting. It's called Guideposts. I'm familiar with Norman Vincent Peale. And so there's a daily guidepost that I've been reading it for like 30 or 40 years. So all the authors in that, I feel like I know them all. Each year when the book comes out, I'd like to see what's going on in their lives. I've even called a few of them. I like that. And then they've also done a new edition of Strength and Grace Daily Devotions, which is like mostly caregivers are writing about. Anyway, I like that. And I read, is it Journey to the Heart by Melody Bonnet?
All right. It's always good to get book recommendations so that we can go out and read what others are reading or trying to live by. When it comes to living life on a daily basis, we all go through trials. Joan, what do you do to keep yourself on track with life?
Ooh, I'm not so sure I am on track with life. I try. I do my yoga. I lead the classes 3 times a week, and I do some training, other times during the week. I have found I loved our gym. I thought it was wonderful. I loved the pool, the indoor pool. And so we haven't been able to replace that, but I go to swim classes in the nice weather every morning, and not every night. It's Monday, Wednesday, Friday mornings.
So you do have another form of physical fitness in your life besides yoga.
Yes. I go to the Belterre Swim Club for water aerobics. It's the Flagler Technical College that does this, and they're up the street on A1A. I go to an exercise class there on 3 times a week at 10 in the morning. So
Very good. This is what our listeners need to hear, that even though you've turned 70, Joan, not only are you keeping up with your physical fitness to stay healthy and strong, but you're also inspiring so many others by teaching. You say you don't say teach, but by leading yoga classes to so many people.
Another great thing has nothing to do with exercise that I love doing is I play Mahjong. When I was living in Texas in Sugar Land, we had a group of 16 women that we all started learning like in 2009. And so we played for years. And when I moved here 6 years ago, I found met some people mostly through the gym. We're up to 12 or 14 people in our group, and we play Mahjong every week. And they're all great players. They all enjoy it. It's a great game for socialing. So like you can't talk much during the game because it does require some thought. It's not like, you can't do nothing, but it's just been great for a lot of people. And I've taught friends of mine from college that live up in New Jersey. I've taught some friends in Sugar Land, and everybody's like kind of enjoyed that.
Mahjong is a numbers game, isn't it?
It's a Chinese or Japanese game. And we play the American way. It's a great game. It's fun. And we play once a week, at least 3 hours every afternoon. It's a great way to meet people. The National Mahjong League is in New York City, and it says it's like, I think it's in its 86th year of playing Mahjong and developing friendships. So, and works for charity. That everything they do works for charity.
Keeps the brain sharp when we play games with others.
Yeah.
Socializing aspect, having friends, being surrounded by friends so many days.
Yeah. We've had book clubs when we were in Texas. We're in a book club here. We're in a book club, and that's a great thing to do with people. We all alternate deciding what we're reading and who's hosting and everything. And so, we do that every month. And that's a lot of fun.
So being in a book club, I'm sure you've read a lot of great books.
We have, yes. But, it's interesting as you get older, it's like you read them and you can discuss them all, but don't ask me like what I read last year. I can't remember that.
They all start running together.
Right.
Which story was which, but at least you're enjoying it while you're doing it.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
Tell me about inspirational people in your life, maybe mentors, teachers, relatives.
My husband is a great inspiration. He's very disciplined, very structured, has a lot to offer. He's been an inspiration all my life. For 38 years, we'll be married. We've known each other almost 50. And I'm trying to think, I'm sure there have been a lot of people that have inspired me to do different things. I can't offhand right now just think of how many of them or who they are or what they've done. But all I know is that people have been important in my life. That's what's been in my life, is people.
Going back to our yoga teacher training at Renew Yoga in Daytona Beach, Florida, we had 6 different teachers there throughout almost the 1 year that we were going there. And a lot of the students who were taking the training course with us were mostly younger. You and I were the older ones, and they were all youngsters in our eyes.
And I was the oldest, obviously years ahead of you. But it's so funny because I was remembering one of them. How we had to go around and say something about everybody. One of them said, "You are so brave." I thought, brave? I guess she thought that because I was older and doing this. But
yeah, and respected you for it. But I've got to say, I'm so sorry I don't remember her name, but one of our teachers was an older woman.
Yeah, Pat.
She is what gave me the drive to keep on going when I walked in there and I saw all the young, new students.
Yes. Yeah, I was very happy to see her there too. She might have been a couple of years older than me, so I knew I wasn't the oldest one.
And it didn't matter that she couldn't sit on the floor Indian style. She couldn't bend her knees all the way. She couldn't do all the poses that everybody, the younger students, were doing, but she still changed everything so that she could do it her way.
Yes, exactly.
Really impressed me. and made me realize at that point yoga is for everyone.
And actually, she's like one of the first things that we had to do is a presentation, after get the first session. She said we needed to lead a class, and she said, but no sun salutations. I was fine with that.
I know that a friend of mine is going to be listening to this recording. She has just shared with me that she wants to go to teacher training, and she's older than both of us. I'm so excited for her. I know that she can do it, and I know that she's going to face these different issues on her journey. And nowadays, ever since COVID, some of the places that were teaching training are now only doing it online. What would you recommend to somebody that is going to be going through the training to do it online, or to really seek out somewhere where you can go to the classes like we did and experience it the way we did? What do you think about that?
I think that no question, when you're able to be with other people and interact with other people right there in their presence, I think that's the first choice. I think that would be the best way to go. I know other people who have done everything completely online and to get their training. And a lot of what I do through Yoga Alliance is all online. It's interesting, but it's a solitude thing. And a lot of people like to get out and be with other people. So I think whatever she can find that would work for her would be great. I think the online thing the whole COVID has changed our world, and how Zoom is like one of the positives that came out of COVID, because we're able to just connect and do so many things. With the classes that I lead, it's so interesting, the people that do it. It's like if somebody has a friend, they have a cousin, somebody's in Tennessee, I don't know who they are, but they do it. My best friends from college, one's in Oklahoma City, joins us, one's in New Jersey, joins us. I've known these women over 50 years. I mean, Zoom has allowed that to happen. So that's been a very, very positive thing. My sisters do it. I have a sister up in New York. I have a sister in Charleston. They join, so that's been really nice. For the training, I know our training was live and I enjoyed that, and I'm glad we got it in. I think either way would work. Whatever she can find, that would work.
I actually know somebody else who went through teacher training with an online course, and she could go as fast or as slow as she wanted to. There was no timeline. So she did as much of it as she could, as fast as she could, because she wanted to get it done and go and teach somewhere. But she also missed the aspect of teaching like we did as we went along. As we went along and we learned about meditation, we all had to actually do a meditation in front of class.
Absolutely. Yes.
But we learned about sun salutations. Then we all had to do the sun salutations in front of the class. With the our breathing practice, we had to choose a breathing practice and do that. And I think that hands-on experience made us ready to dive in.
I agree. And I think that being able to watch everybody else and, everybody's watching each other, we've all learned from each other. And so that was really important. So that's something you would miss with the Zoom or the online training. You wouldn't have the interaction. I'm glad we got our training and we did.
So I'm hoping that my friend can find a place that will teach hands-on in a classroom 8 hours on a Saturday for almost a year. It was a commitment, but it was a wonderful thing.
Yes, it was. And it was great.
Okay, so now diving into the class of chair yoga a little bit more. I'd like to talk about people who, I said before, might have injuries or feel they're unable to do it because their arm can only go so high, or they have knee issues, about easing into a program, taking it step by step, starting small and not expecting a whole lot in the beginning, but giving it time. Do you try to help your clients through that at all?
Well, what I always say is, whatever we're doing, it should feel good for you. So if what I'm suggesting doesn't feel good, then don't do it. If we bend to the right, you don't have to go that far, just a little bit. Some people may go way over, But, you do what's right for your body. And you just honor your body is what everybody needs to do. And I say that I think everybody that does that understands that they do what they can for themselves.
And what about props? I mean, even the chair is considered a prop in chair yoga, and blocks and straps, all the things that help us reach a little farther, get
Absolutely.
better balance, better flexibility, all these
Right.
props.
Yes, absolutely. Depending on the class, I use a strap, a block, a pillow. Sometimes on our yin classes, and you need to be near a wall because we end up with legs up the wall for about 10 or 15 minutes doing different things with legs up the wall, which is very, very relaxing. It's supposed to be very good for you. And I just suggest these things because we all mute and nobody sees each other. You do what's right for you and nobody else hears you. Nobody else sees you. I think some people, when they go to a live class, think that other people are looking at them. Me personally, in a live class, I usually have my eyes closed, so I'm never looking at anybody. I don't care what anybody else is doing. I listen to the instructor and I do what I can best for me.
You listen to your body.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And the more you do, the more you can do.
And doing an hour of yoga with limitations is so much better than not doing it at all. And your body will talk to you after doing that for a while and say, I'm appreciating this.
Absolutely. Sometimes I look around, I look at people who have such a hard time just getting around. It's probably just because they haven't moved enough, I feel very fortunate that I have the time that I'm able to do it and I don't have to rush off to do a whole bunch of other things. That's behind me. So that's one of the nice things about getting older. It's your time now. It used to be everybody's time, but now it's more your time.
It's your time, but you are still finding the time to give back.
Yes, that's exactly what I think this time of life is for myself and my husband. It's like we feel very blessed with everything. And so we feel it is time to just give back. That's exactly how we feel about whatever it is that we do. That's how we like to think about it.
And you are giving back to so many people. Mental, emotional, and physical wellness all go hand in hand with yoga, and balance. Let's not forget balance, flexibility. That's only a few words, but it says so much when it comes to how we feel.
Yes. And I love what you're doing with your podcast, with everything that you're doing. I think it's all positive. It's all great for any age. I think it's wonderful. I've enjoyed listening to your different podcasts and following what you're doing. So thank you for that, Angela. You're doing a great, great job.
You're welcome. And thank you for being on so that we can share your story with others. And my goal here is to hopefully get people off the bench that have been thinking about taking chair yoga and putting it off for whatever reason when they could be enjoying so many benefits.
Absolutely. I mean, they're sitting all the time anyway. Why not do a little bit of yoga while you're at it?
Let's talk about Ujjayi breath.
Okay.
So Ujjayi breath, it's always been kind of a joke to me because not actually doing the breathing because it's wonderful, but more about the word itself, Ujjayi. It's like, okay, how do I say that? You hear the teacher say it. It's like, Ujjayi. How do you say that? How do you spell that? What does that mean? And then you try to explain to people how to do it, and it feels strange, and you try to get them through it. Do you ever use that in your practice, the Ujjayi breath?
I don't do it enough. I need to take more training on it to be more comfortable doing it. We always do take deep, long breaths, inhale and pause, exhale and pause. I don't do all the different variations that I've had when I've been a student in classes, which I've enjoyed, but I'm just not yet comfortable enough doing that. I need more training to be comfortable with that.
Okay, I'd like to go through a little bit of Ujjayi breathing with you here during the podcast to help our listeners be familiar with it and also to see how the breathing process feels.
Okay.
So just go ahead and close your eyes. And we're just going to keep the lips closed and go ahead and start breathing in and out through your nose. Let's do that a few times, breathing in, breathing out, focusing on the sound of the breath. And now we'll start to breathe in a little bit deeper through the nose. And then when you exhale, keeping the lips closed, just kind of force the breath through a constricted throat. And when we do that, we hear a little bit louder of a sound, and that sound helps to soothe us and keep us focused. And we try to make those breaths a little deeper coming in and slower and longer going out, with the throat constricted and the lips closed. Do that a few more times. Then we'll open our eyes and resume our breathing again normally. If it was even a minute of doing Ujjayi breathing is calming, do you feel like your nervous system has calmed?
Very relaxing, very calming. Yes.
And centers you. And not only is it a good breath to do at the beginning of any yoga class, but if we continue our Ujjayi breathing throughout our session, we will find it easier to move in and out of the poses, because anytime we breathe in, it helps to contract the muscles and make you stronger to move into a pose. And then when we breathe out, it relaxes the muscles so that your body can move into, relax, and maybe stay in that pose for whatever length of time you need to, or want to, or can. So the breath is so important when it comes to going through a yoga practice.
Yes, I agree. I agree.
Okay, so I just wanted to do that with you. And by the way, it is pronounced Ujjayi.
I'm not good with any of the Sanskrit words on things. I'm like hardly any of them. But I did get that yoga mat with the 70 positions that you had.
Well,
I saw it at your house and I loved it. So I love it. It's a great yoga mat. And so thank you for that.
you're welcome. Then anybody can go to my website and look that up. It is on there. It helps us to learn the Sanskrit words, which is really helpful when we do go to a class where the teacher does say the poses in Sanskrit only.
Yes.
It can be challenging. You're constantly looking around if you don't know the Sanskrit words. So making chair yoga accessible, or I should say making yoga accessible for people with disabilities. Do you have any people with disabilities in your class?
A lot of the chair yoga, because people do have restrictions and do have disabilities that prevent them from getting on the floor or doing any of the harder yoga poses. And so it's important to know you can do things, you can stretch, you can make yourself feel better sitting in a chair and doing it.
And teaching yoga is a continuous journey. We're continuously trying to learn more ways to get better at what we do.
Absolutely.
So our education is never ending also.
Always ongoing, always ongoing. And we learn a lot from the people that we do yoga with,
Yes. You teach 3 different kinds of yoga.
in 3 different classes. Yes.
And did you start doing that because of the different levels of your people, or just because you wanted to offer 3 different types of yoga?
I wanted to do 3 different types. I started with the first year I did, I think it was just twice. I did a chair class and a mat class. And then I added, after a year, the yin class. And a lot of the moves that we do in all 3 classes are very, very similar. But I try to change it up a little bit depending on which class it is.
Explain to our listeners exactly the description of your 3 different classes, because not everybody understands what yin yoga is. So just go ahead and take that and roll with that for a moment.
The chair yoga, we do most of the work, 45 minutes in the chair. But as I said, we do some standing poses. Mat yoga, we just get on the floor. We don't get off the floor again. We don't do any I don't do any down dogs. I don't do any planks. I don't do any of those. And we're not up and down. And it just kind of like flows. I like to go start at the top and then just go down through the body with the moves that we do. And so it just kind of like all flows together. And then with the yin, it's a lot of the same poses, but not as many because we try to hold those for 2 to 3 minutes each pose. I mean, we do some movement during the class. Mostly we try to hold the pose for 2 to 3 minutes. And I have to keep working on that to get better at doing that because I know that, they've said that yin is a relaxing form of yoga. It's not strenuous or anything like that. And, we do focus on holding the poses for, they say 3 to 5 or 8 minutes. I think we get up to 2 or 3 maybe. I keep trying to do it longer. It feels good when you do that. You're holding a pose for a longer period of time. You see that during the course of that, you can go even further into each pose, the longer you're holding it.
So the benefit of yin is getting more range of motion, flexibility.
Yes. It's really relaxing. It all feels, but most of what I do is all, in my opinion, it all feels good because that's how I lead it. It's like I do what feels good for me. If it wasn't feeling good, I wouldn't be doing it. I'm not one of those strong athletic people that's going to really go over the edge on things.
I went to a yin yoga class one time where the teacher held the poses from anywhere to 5 to 8 minutes, but she told a story during the class.
Yeah.
It was amazing because you lose track of the time that you're in the pose. You're paying attention to the story instead of thinking about being stuck in this pose for 5 to 8 minutes, adjusting if you need to here so you can listen to the story.
That's nice. I've done some classes where people do talk a lot during the class and talk you through everything. I don't do that much talking. I think that some of the people, because we're all in our own little environment, I think a lot of the people do put on some nice soothing music while they're doing it. And, nobody else hears that, just them. I think a number of people probably do that. And I like ending with, positive quotes. Like at the end of each class, I told you I start reading from the yoga book at the beginning. At the end of each class, I read one of my, what I call lessons from mom, things I've sent my children. And they're all just positive thoughts. And I try to end it like that with a positive thought.
Okay, I was saving that for the end, but I'm glad you brought it up. We can talk about it now. So Joan has told me about these letters from mom that she started writing to her children many years ago.
They're lessons from mom. It's lessons from mom, and I email it to them. They were 27 and 24 when I started doing this in 2015. And I said to them, I think that, you're off on your own. You're doing your own thing. You're finished college. I said, but I think there's still some things you can learn from me. So I said, so I'm going to do what I call a lesson from mom. And it's mostly like, it's interesting how it's unfolded. I was going to do it every day. My older son said, Mom, please, just once a week. I'm like, okay, I'm so glad he said that because, I try to do it every Sunday. It doesn't always get out on Sunday, but nobody's perfect. So, as long as it gets out, and sometimes I miss, and that's okay. But it's just mostly sharing some kind of positive thoughts. Like, there's tons of readings out there with wonderful positive thoughts, strength builders. Some of it has been, we're talking about, like, when I started it, we lived in Texas. So they have how it transpired, my husband and I moving to Florida, and they see each week what we were doing differently when we were moving. So it's something that they're always going to have. And so I email it to them during the year. And then at the end of each year, I print them all out and they have a loose leaf binder. We all have lessons from, we put that in there. So they're always going to have that with them. When I'm long gone, they can still go back and remember things. And I was reading the other day that our lessons from 2020 with that pandemic. And it's just unbelievable, the things that we all went through during that pandemic. And I was trying to tell them all kinds of positive things and, always see the silver lining in clouds and stuff like that. So it's really interesting that it's been now going on 8 years and they both enjoy it. They both like it. And it's just something that we do. So
I would love to start doing something like that. There's things that I want to share with my children, and you think of things, but you're not always together when you think of them. So why not? And not only could my children benefit from it, but also my grandchildren later on down the line.
I'd be glad to share my book with you. You can see like the kinds of things like what I've done and said and so forth. So
Do you ever encourage your clients to get off the chair and go onto the mat if it's looking like they're ready for that?
Well, you see, the thing is, when I do it on Zoom, I don't see anybody.
Oh, you don't either. Okay.
Everybody stops their video and everybody mutes. So everybody is just doing their thing. So and nobody's going to do anything that is not going to feel good for them. They know that.
Right. Progression is a wonderful thing when you're ready for it. Taking it at your own pace.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. When we start the classes, we're all on together. Everybody sees each other, can say hi and whatever. But then once it starts, everybody stops their video and mutes, and it's just me leading the class.
Do you do the same sequences all the time, or do you mix it up?
I kind of do the same, and I keep thinking I need to try to mix it up a little. Now, some people have said you don't need to mix it up, but I'm trying to, with the more training I do, trying to get more things in to mix it up a little. But I have, with each of the 3 classes, I have in my head how to do it and which way to go. And so it makes it easier for me. To me, it flows easy, so.
Some people like routine too. They enjoy the routine because they know how to do it. They know what's coming next. I also think that changing things up not only helps to stimulate the mind, because we need to think about what we're doing, it also stimulates the muscles and the body in a different way, which is really challenges muscle memory, which is really good for the body and the brain. And we don't always have to keep on doing the same thing, because how are we ever going to progress?
I keep thinking about that, and I keep working on that. So it's always a work in progress.
Yes, it's a journey, but we're loving our journey, aren't we?
Right, absolutely.
All right, Joan, this has been wonderful. I loved having a conversation with you today. Thank you. Is there anything in the future going on with Joan? Any kind of new experiences that you're wanting to experience? Any new goals?
I always have goals. I have goals and objectives every year. I don't always get to them all, but I'm beginning to think that now the pandemic is we're kind of that's behind us. I need to go back to my original thought of volunteering at a retirement place. So that's what I'm going to look at doing, to see if there's any places. And I don't know, I know my husband has gone to some places, but I think there's a lot that you have to do to be able to go there and do that. Well, I'll just find out. I'm going to just start exploring that avenue.
I am going to try to reach out through social media to get more people to listen to this podcast, maybe that work at nursing homes. Maybe somebody will give you a call or send you an email, because we've done this recording today.
Great. Wonderful. That would be great.
We're all going to try to listen and share the podcast so that maybe Joan can soon be volunteering at a nursing home near us. All right, Joan, thank you so much.
Thank you, Angela. You're so sweet. Thank you so much for wanting to do this with me. Really very touched. Thank you.
Enjoy your journey in yoga.
Okay. You too.
Thanks.
This is Angela Grayson from the Loving Life Fitness Podcast, to help others in their fitness journey.